For those that can't attend, we'll have a recording, or if you have to bail out early. We got about an hour's time today, so we'll try our best to answer all the questions you may have. Just the housekeeping items. If you want to ask a question, please raise your hand. Wait for myself or Gabe to call upon you, and then we can get the question and answer period going from there. We'll start off with quick updates of what we know what's going on in our world right now, and then we'll open it up to you guys, the pilots, for the questions. And yeah, so I'll start the meeting here now. So welcome to everyone. Thanks for joining us. It's Pat Peterzak here. I got Gabe Denota. I got Karen Kenny as well. She's just in the background. We got Mark Cicelli as well here. Reps and obviously a few of us on the executive. Couple updates here. First of all, I'd like to congratulate CUPE, or correct, CUPE, my apologies, Unifor. They got a tentative agreement there with their with the company late yesterday. Got to congratulate them for holding their ground, because they were fairly close for calling a strike. They got what they wanted, and I believe a little bit more. Don't know the official details yet. I haven't seen any of the paperwork, but I spoke to their negotiating committee, and they're pretty proud of what they got. It's going to go out to their members late this week, and then once they have that out, hopefully we'll get a snippet of what they got. Hopefully it should help us going forward with the mainline negotiations for our friends next door, as well as us going forward with potential of who knows what for us. Couple other things. We got a lot of questions about what's happening in Toronto. Unfortunately, the answer I got is I don't have any answers. We've asked the question multiple times to the employer. Don't have an idea of what's going to happen with the base, the structure. I think most of us saw the communication that came out with the reduction of flights on November 15th to certain East Coast cities. And that's as far as I know. We have no idea of what to expect or what to do in terms of communication to you, because we have nothing to communicate. So unfortunately, that's a really poor answer, but that's where we sit at the moment with that. I would encourage everyone to, if you're curious, email John, Aaron, Travis, Lisa Davis. Those are the people with the cards in their hands, and they may not have an answer, but unfortunately, they should have an answer since they are management. The other thing is we're talking about flow bid coming up here. It was supposed to come out last week, if I remember correctly. I haven't seen anything yet in my email. I don't think Gabe has either, or Karen. Still waiting for notification to what's going to happen for the November bid. And that includes flow as well as upgrades for our first officers moving to the right to the left seats. Nothing as of yet. It's still early in the day, Monday, so that might change today. But right now we have no idea of what's going to happen with that, so we'll keep you posted on that. And last but not least, the big ticket item for us is September 1st. I know there's a lot of rumors on the line saying that, oh, we're not going to be doing a picket. We are doing a picket with WestJet in Vancouver, Calgary, and in Toronto. We are working on the final details with our SPSC chair, Natasha Gills, working directly with the Toronto group, the WestJet group, pardon me, to get finalization of our signs, as well as locations and information. More information will be coming shortly. We just need to get everything finalized in terms of our verbiage and our message that will be used on the 1st. Again, I'll say again, like I said last month, if you are planning on attending and you are working, do not call in sick. That's grounds for dismissal, or at least definitely discipline. We're going to be advising people to also have their e-learnings complete, as well as the new ones that just got sent out from the company about 3 to 4 weeks ago. All that stuff will have to be complete if you're going to be walking the picket with us. But again, stand by for further details. There will be a lot more information coming, and that's it. I'll touch on, we had a pub night in Edmonton. Unfortunately, we had nobody show up except one pilot. So going forward here, folks, if we want some unity as a group, we need to start showing up to events. We're spending lots of money, your dues dollars, to plan these events. And I'm not trying to use this as a guilt trip, but unfortunately I have to. It's your money we're spending, and if no one shows up, we still have to pay a minimum fee to the brewery, to travel fees up there and driving up. And Natasha and I drove up from Calgary, and it's not cheap. So I would encourage you, if you guys want to voice your concerns, other than Facebook, come to these pub nights. These are a great opportunity for you guys to come. Obviously, I get with commuters and people can't make it, but if you can make it to one on an overnight or where you can, we'd encourage you. Next one will be in Winnipeg on August 11th, and I hope the Winnipeggers are willing and able to show up. And if you're there on an overnight, I encourage you to show up as well. Details to come. I think it's been communicated a few times through Natasha and through our chats, but we'll republish to our Facebook group as well as in a communication to our pilots. As for that's about it for updates right now. No update front, I guess, in terms of the merger talks. I've asked multiple times. We're still in a standstill, and if I can be honest with everyone, I personally believe and I feel that the company's just using it as a dangle of a carrot to see how long they can prolong this talk of merger. Our position has not changed and it will not change. It's going to continue to stay the same. Make us one, make us unified as a pilot group, and that's it. So I spoke to a legal last week from WestJet, and I've heard, and they're still in this like, we're not sure. We're still working towards details. Well, the longer we wait, the more people we lose to flow to other airlines, unfortunately. So again, I would encourage you, if you're excited about it, or you want something to happen, either reach out to us, but more importantly, reach out to your line ops manager or to the management that's above them. Jason, Travis, John, Lisa, they're the people that hold the cards to a lot of this. And if they don't, again, like I said earlier, they can pass the message up to the people that need be. And one final item here, I will talk about it. We're having a lot of darts and issues with pay on overnight sim. So for those people who are sim instructors or even picking up overtime, if you do an overnight sim slot that goes past the you finish at 4 a.m., a lot of people are not getting paid the overtime. So what we ask of people is if you do pick it up, likely you won't get paid the overtime, so we'll have to work now, grieve it later. We're in the midst of discussing with the company to get this rectified. We're not sure where this change came from because it was being paid prior, and then all of a sudden they made this unilateral change, which we emphatically disagree with. If you are working an overnight sim slot or GFS or anything that touches the next day, it should be 8 hours of play with one stipend for the instructors. And if you're a student or doing seat fill, it's still 8 hours of pay. So be mindful, watch your pay. And if you're not getting paid for it, please fill out a DART and we'll add you to our list and we will update where we can. I'll open it to questions here. It's 10 after here. That's a bit of an update that we had from our end. And we'll go from there. Okay, from the chat group, do you have any ideas on how many YYZFOs are leaving? No, I don't care how many people are leaving. The problem we have is people are leaving. That's all that matters to us. So if people want to leave, they got to do what works for them and their families. With the hand up there, Gabe, do you have? Oh, here we go.
Yep.
Okay. Andrew Leach, go ahead. Just unmute yourself if you're trying to talk.
Hi, sorry about that. Hi, Pat and Gabe. You guys can hear me now?
Yeah, morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for doing this, and thanks for all of your hard work, including all the volunteers on the various committees. Question is with regards to job action by a separate bargaining unit at WestJet. Will we receive guidance regarding crossing a picket line?
Yes. As of right now, they've come to a tentative agreement with the customer service agents in Calgary and Vancouver. That will be sent to their membership to vote on. And if it passes, then there will be no job action. But if it doesn't pass, we will have communication sent out to our pilots to advise what we can and cannot do, and stand by for further. So.
Okay, that's great. That's everything I wanted to know.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks.
Riley?
Guys hear okay?
Yep.
Excellent. Just with on the topic of open time, I've noticed that there's been quite an influx of open time as of late. I was wondering what your guys' take is on asking for double time on cold calls. I understand we're subject to the terms of the contract, so this would be denied. However, my understanding is that we are or will be in negotiations soon. If we all start asking for this double time on the cold calls, perhaps we can get the ball rolling on some sort of MOA or amendment, so we don't have to wait to a new contract. I don't understand, contract law very well, so some sort of amendment. I think that this incentive
You just
cost of living.
Yeah, you're cutting out a bit, but if I can understand the question, if you're being cold called, you're looking for possibly 2 times the rate. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, more or less. I know we can't get it right now, but I feel like if everyone starts asking for this sort of thing, then maybe it would get the ball rolling, sort of, down the road.
Yeah, that's a fair question. It's definitely on our radar. I think the one hesitation from the MEC group is that again, we have to talk about a big fixed ticket item, fixed item that needs to be fixed, not a small ticket item. And I think if we were to engage the employer on this ticket, they would look at it, oh, they're willing to talk to us and we're going to fix the small issues before we fix the larger issue. I agree. Inflation's killing a lot of people. Our paychecks haven't changed in size. And, cost of living is killing a lot of people. And so they can't just give it to us without signing a MOA or an MOS with us at the association. If we get more pushback from the pilots asking for it, then we'll obviously have to, entertain it and look at the alternative options. I know our friends at WestJet have been approached by the company about it, and they haven't agreed to it either. They're obviously going into a contract negotiation at the end of this year, and it's a weird answer because I personally feel if we were to entertain the conversation of that, they would probably claw back on the big ticket items right now because they have a lot of big fish to deal with, and I think we need to focus on the big prize at hand. Unfortunately, that's my personal opinion to it right at the moment. So,
okay, understood. Thank you very much.
Thanks. If you have a question, you can either type it in the chat or perfect. Cam Spur. He left. All right. Max? Unable to unmute. Okay. 1 sec here.
You can try again. I just allowed you guys to unmute.
There we go. Go with Max first, and then we'll go to Sam, and then back to Andrew. Still unable. Okay. Cam, can you talk? Okay. I'm not sure what's going on here, everyone, so I apologize. I'll just have to read them through the chat group. I apologize. Stand by. Any news on the grievance regarding FOs being upgraded in another base and then scheduled for pairings in another base rather than captain? Gabe, do you have any insight on that one? I can't remember.
Yeah, there is right now there's no update on that. The company's taking the position that bases and positions are awarded as 2 separate things. I'll be blunt. I don't know in what world they think that an FO who bids for a position in another base all of a sudden is going to stay in their previous base. and BNFO. So or they're new based in BNFO when the position is effective on a particular new month. Like many of our things and like our last update, we're getting increasingly frustrated with their lack of, I'll be honest with you, treating people like people at this company. Lots of these grievances that are very basic are being denied for no reason. Unfortunately, there is no update on that one. But I don't. I'll have to get back to you as to exactly where it is. But I know that it's been denied at least the first step here. So
I hope that helps the answer there, Anthony. Next question was from Max. He goes, I understand that our association is stronger as a unified group. What can we do to further our goals and amplify the voice of the union? I will say this over and over and over again. A couple things. Wear the lanyard. We have lanyards available through a lot of our reps. P2P, myself, all our reps have lanyards available. So if you see us at the airport, come grab one. Have a chat with us. We're willing to buy you a coffee and do a feelings report. We're there for you. We're doing these coffee engagements as much as we can at the gates if we can. I know Mark had some people in Toronto show up. I had some in Calgary. Again, Ashley had nobody in Calgary. So you know, we're trying to keep people engaged. You know, pub nights are a good way. Lanyards are an excellent way. The companies don't like looking at the ugly lanyards. Yes, they're not the prettiest of things. We're looking at getting new lanyards made. They should hopefully be out by mid-August. Again, of supply chain issues and all the above. But, you know, being involved, you know, coming to these, reading our fast reads, being engaged at the local meetings. Calgary just announced a meeting on the 3rd of August. There's a new election for a Secretary Treasurer coming up. Come if you can. You know, that's the way to stay involved, and you know, it's a good way to feel that you're involved and your money's being spent for you as a person who pays dues. So, yeah, we're looking at some family engagement nights here, hopefully in the fall, if not early next year, just with how the budgets all work, and we'll keep you posted to that as well. Any other questions in the chat? Nope, that's it for now from Max. Cam, were you able to type in yours?
yeah, I see Cam's update on retention talks. So since since the last update there, Cam, well, there's been two real big kind of comms that went out. Last one a couple days ago, and then even the one before that. There has been no discussions on it. We've had some informal conversations, kind of more 2-on-1s or 1-on-1s with certain individuals as to where they are with merging, and they've said they've taken it back and they're going to get back to us. But again, really the ball is in their court, and they know what the requests are for long-term solutions. And just even going back to maybe Riley's question about, you know, double time pay, those are all options that certainly assist with pilots and overall compensation piece, which is what we're interested in. But they have to be weighed in with some of the long-term solutions as well that are obviously very glaringly important to the group, and they cannot be short-term. There also has never been a time where the company has offered anything that's for the length of the collective agreement, which at this point is only 1.5 years till expiry. We think those are more than fair terms that could be offered that would come close to fixing some problems, but it's not going to help them. We're not, you know, we would get into some issues if we assisted with, you know, on a month by month basis, with 2 times overtime pay, for a number of different reasons. There could be DFR, duty of fair representation issues, and unfair labor practice issues with just kind of signing something for a month as well. So really, as we've kind of been saying for the last month or two, the ball is in their court. I think our last communication kind of touches a lot of different things that we are seeing. Now, hopefully it's provided some clarity, some additional clarity as to what's happening on the, you know, to you guys. The grievance process can be fixed by them. These really silly, frivolous grievances that really were non-issues before have become issues for some reason. For what reason, I don't know. We're having to push things to arbitration, and then so that everyone is aware, the company is picking dates in 3 or 4 years from now. So really what's being translated from the ELT down to our managers who give out cookies to say thank you at the airport is really not what's happening. So, and I'll be blunt, I'm not sure why we're giving out cookies at the airport saying thank you for all your hard work when we go into a grievance meeting and they're going, well, no, we don't care that someone helped us out. So it really isn't being translated down from the ELT down to our managers. And some of our immediate line ops managers are great to deal with, but unfortunately, the disconnect is there, and that could be fixed, and that could help solve some of these problems. Yeah, and again, we don't love being the big bad union, but at some point something's going to have to change. They've also been putting out these half communications about what's happening, and without any detail. I'm a Toronto-based pilot, and I understand how people are feeling about what's going to happen with Toronto. Every single meeting we've been to, we've asked what's happening with Toronto. Oh, people shouldn't worry about it. Well, people are making career and family decisions based on your announcement, and they haven't said anything. So, for what it's worth, we're advocating that they come up with some sort of a plan, or don't say it at all, because it's almost better if they just don't say things that when they don't know what's happening, versus kind of create this panic that's been happening. So really it's on the company to come to us and say we are willing to do X, Y, and Z to solve the problems. And if not, then either two things are going to happen here. Either people are going to leave in groves as they're starting to, or wages and working conditions, if Encore is still going to exist, are going to have to go up. So again, Pat said at the beginning of the call, it's a decision that people are going to have to make based on what we have right now. And obviously our mandate has been try and solve some of the long-term solutions based on the amount of uncertainty that exists. But we certainly believe that there's a good amount of potential to create some stability at the WestJet Group, while providing career progression, recognition, and a form of respect that I think Encore pilots deserve.
Yeah, well said, Gabe. And just to touch on the arbitration side of things, we are available for the company. We can make our schedules available. The company owns our schedule, so they could remove us from flying, and we can go to an arbitration meeting tomorrow if we had to. Again, choosing years in advance is it's bad taste, it's bad practice, and it just shows their true colors of unwilling to work with employee groups. And these last minute settles, they don't go well because it puts everyone in a corner. And I can tell you, we're not excited about these ideas of settling things last minute unless it's it's good for the pilot group. It's not good for them at the company, so they're going to see how they can solve these issues last second, and we're not for that. So when we as a group choose to bring things to arbitration, obviously we go through a process that think what it does for our group. It costs money, anywhere from $7,000 to $15,000 per for an arbitration. It's not cheap. So when we waste our time to go to an arbitration, we're not, I wouldn't even say wasting time. We've thought through this and the process is clear. And again, if it's something contentious, we want it to be done sooner than later. And the company, again, will drag their heels as long as they can because it's, whatever the reason may be, we don't care. But to us, it's just absolute bad faith that they're unwilling to work with us, within a timely fashion. So, question that came up, I'll ask, actually, Andrew, if you can speak, I'll let you speak to it. I know your hand's been up for a little while, so I do apologize.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You actually answered my first question, which was, can you talk about or speak about the importance of wearing the ALPA lanyard? I'm still seeing a lot of people wearing the teal WestJet lanyard, and in some cases wearing the new lanyard. So thanks for talking about that. Second question is, from all of your updates, from communications from the company, the Sunwing purchase or merger, whatever that is, things that are happening with the grievance process, really my understanding is the company doesn't care about our seniority. I'm wondering if I'm reading this correctly.
I think the seniority question is we always have to be mindful that we need to protect our seniority. The company will say to our face that we care for your seniority, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I'll put myself in a Sunwing pilot's shoes at the moment. If I was them, I'd be coming after seniority. Let's be honest. Our take on seniority at Encore is they go to the bottom of the list. We're taking over their group, coming here. That's what we sit at. Ultimately, an arbitrator is the one that's going to decide where seniority fits and how it looks at the new WestJet group with Sunwing. We're still unsure if Sunwing is going to be operated as a separate company. Are they going to be merged into Swoop? Are they going to be merged into WestJet? Unknown at the moment. But as it sits now, I can tell you my humble opinion is they go bottom of the list. It's probably an unpopular opinion with Sunwing pilots, but I don't represent Sunwing pilots. I represent you at Encore. So something that we have to be mindful of. I can't speak to what WestJet's, the mainline pilots, want to do. You know, there's rumblings out there with PTA issues and that and whatnot. But as we sit right now, our seniority is where we sit at as present, and our hope is that we continue on where we sit. And with Sunwing coming on property in the unforeseen, I guess we don't know when they're coming or if they come. Then we need to fight that and manage that. And if they can go bottom of the list, that's a win for us, in my humble opinion.
Okay, great. Just the last thing, it's really not a question. It's just, sorry, it's really just my opinion here. But speaking to what you and Gabe were talking about with the company being, you know, providing disclosure to the MEC or to the pilot group as well. A business like WestJet doesn't make a major business decision like purchasing an airline without a solid business plan in case. So they know what's going to happen, but they're not communicating that to you or us.
It goes down to the respect level that we've mentioned to them. We've communicated to our pilots. You know, clearly our opinions don't matter, but yet it's ironic because we get more traction from you guys telling us what you guys feel is right and wrong than they do from their, you know, their powers on the whatever floor they're sitting on at the campus. It's a bit insulting at times that they don't value, you know, labor as a asset to this group. They still have this old mindset that labor is a bad trait. But unfortunately, labor's here and it's here to stay. So they need to learn to work with us as a labor group on contentious issues, not just, I'll use what Gabe said, bringing us a cookie at the gate. I could care less about a damn cookie. You know, I want to know I can feed my family, put fuel in my car. You know I'm not going to work 18 days a month every month and get extended, you know, 4 hours past every day. You know, my last day of my pairing. There's all these ticket items that need to be addressed, but you know, we're going to keep on pushing that agenda item. The respect thing is out of my mouth and Gabe's mouth on a weekly basis when we meet with the company on grievances and other things. And I know our grievance chair, Sam Harper, he does the same for us as well. So the message is not lost to us. It's lost to them across the table. And how to fix that? That's a good question. I really don't know how to answer or how to fix that issue. So it's a bit it's frustrating for sure. Is it a tactic on the WestJet end to see how long they can drag us through the mud and see when we quit? Sure, they can drag us all we want. We're here to stay to fight. You know, like we've got a lot of years left in our life, and we're willing to fight what's best for our pilot group as well as an industry standard going forward. You know, if someone gets a gain at Jazz or AC or anywhere else, we expect the same for our pilots at Encore. So.
Okay, thanks for that. I guess just one last thought I want to share with the group. There's corporations, I think probably just largely in Europe, where labor is represented on the board of directors. And I know this isn't, you know, that's kind of beyond your powers right now, but it's just an interesting thing to consider.
Labor, when it was WestJet labor, also known as the WJPA, or the Employee Association, they were on the board at WestJet. When we certified as a group, as groups, I should say, that somehow came to an end. I know our partners at United Airlines, Todd Insler, their former chair, he sat on the board at United, and I believe that there's people at Delta Airlines that sit at the board down in Georgia. So it's possible in North America. It's just a will. Are they willing to do that? I don't think they want to, because they don't want to be called out on their BS. So that's my humble opinion to that. But no, you're right. Labor groups should be involved for sure.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Pat.
And
Yeah.
just to touch on the lanyard thing. Sorry, Gabe, I cut you off. I know I sound like a dead horse, and speaking to it. We need to look as a unified group. It doesn't mean we're fighting just for Encore issues. If we wear the lanyard as an Encore pilot, we're speaking for pilots across Canada who are ALPA pilots. If Flair, all the other carriers, Jazz, WestJet get gains, it benefits us all. And if we can unify as a group, as Canadians, we can unify to a hockey game, but we can't unify to a profession and fight for what's right for our pilots. People need to reevaluate what's important to them, and being a unified group. I get it. Not everyone loves unions, and not everyone loves the idea of fighting. But the reality is, when you spend over $100,000 to become a pilot, to wear a really crappy uniform, and you sweat because your APU doesn't work, we need to fight for what's right for us as pilots. It's cost of living improvements, wage increases, / work-life balance, issues that need to be addressed. And if we can start doing that as a group at Encore, and we can start spreading the momentum across the line to our partners at other airlines, it only helps us as a unified group. We can look south of the border. American carriers are fantastic. When they want to burn the place down, they burn it down as a country, not just as an individual unit. So something to keep in mind. Again, pub nights are a good place to come to vent, to talk, get a free drink or multiple drinks, as well as, the coffee at the gate. If you can't make it, wear the lanyard. Support what works for you. You pay into it, so might as well get something out of it. Gabe, sorry.
Yeah, and I added it to, or we added to our last column there. There's this misconception. We are, I think, as responsible union and responsible employees, we're invested in the success of this in the company, and that's also conveyed during our meetings. We think that's a fairly reasonable approach to take. Is a lot of us want to be here, a lot of us want to stay, and a lot of us want to see a career here. So we want to be part of the success story, but also that's standing firm with knowing what our worth is. And there's a misconception that wearing a lanyard is being anti-company, and there really couldn't be anything further from the truth. It's supporting one another, it's supporting our industry, and especially the movement in Canada right now. It's fairly important. I'll answer some of the other questions. Max, I know, had one again about how can we further our goals. I think also September 1st is not just a WestJet and Encore event; it's a Labor Day event. Lots of unions lots of MECs across ALPA, and actually across the coalition of labor groups in the U.S. and Canada are putting on events on September 1st. So we'll be having our own specific messaging to correlate with the WestJet group, but it is a really strong labor movement on September 1st. And looking at the timing, airlines are arguably have had time to plan for the massive influx in travel. We look at global and broad issues, especially across Canada. We pay the highest AIF fees, and this is a time where we can be using the public support to our advantage. So going after things, why is Toronto Pearson ranked the highest #1 airport in delays when it's one of the highest taxed airports? So these are kind of the things that we're going to be looking toward. Showing the public that our transportation system isn't perfect. It's far from it, and as a pilot group, it's far from perfect, and as at the WestJet group, it's far from perfect. So, kind of going at a number of different ways, but it's I think that's a good opportunity to take advantage of kind of the outside influences that we have, and to show the company that our group is serious about this. I think a lot of why we haven't heard anything from them is bit of they don't think we're serious. So, you know, I think we're really hoping for a very strong outing on September 1st, and knowing that our pilot group is 500 pilots. So if, you know, please show up if you can, and we'll have more. But you know, the little things that we can do. Obviously, we cannot tell you to pick up or not pick up overtime. We cannot tell you to groom or not to groom. Those are not things that can come from our mouth, or even be hinted at. But we can tell you about informal picketing events that are sanctioned. So those are some of the things that that obviously we're looking at to help put pressure on the company. And looking down south is those things did take time, and those things have worked. So part of that, you know, obviously in the communication that we sent out, those types of events have worked, and they do get traction. Anthony, your question there. So just for everyone regarding retention, people have asked JV during command courses or during ground schools about retention, and they've said that the union has asked them not to engage with us. Can the company talk to us, the pilot, about retention or no? Who's involved in those retention discussions? So where this has come from is during retention discussions, or any type of discussions that have happened, even MOA when we were back in mitigation times, it really is a select group of people that are in that room, and you know, in any type of negotiations, it's keeping the negotiations, we'll call it clean and professional, really involves that it has to remain confidential for a number of different reasons, right? You have to keep the protection of both negotiations committees to do their job. So what happened was during these retention discussions, we had non-management pilots, even management pilots, starting to go into ground schools, starting to talk with pilots about, whoa, we're offering this and we're offering that. And it really actually ruined the discussions that weren't even happening. We even had standards pilots who really didn't, not to their fault, but were starting to get involved with some of the retention ideas that the company had, and we didn't even have meetings yet. So these are serious allegations that we brought to the company, and we said this needs to stop. If we're going to entertain any type of discussions, we need to ensure that the confidentiality of these discussions going forward. And they've basically taken that, as they usually do, and say, oh, ALPA told us to stop talking to you. ALPA did not say to stop talking to you. ALPA said if we're going to enter into conversations, that we would appreciate that the confidentiality remains confidential and the talks remain confidential. We are the ones that represent the pilots. Unless you're offering something to the pilots, you better be offering it to the group, because if you don't, we will take you to the labor board. And to be frank, that was on the table, and they stopped. So if, VP of operations is certainly allowed to talk to the pilots, and so is the chief pilot allowed to talk to the pilots. But part of their job and what they're paid to do is to know how to communicate with their pilots that doesn't break confidentiality and doesn't break the law. So we'll let them decide how they want to do that. But as of yet, we've been satisfied that no confidentiality has been broken, and we also know exactly who's been in the room, so it's pretty easy to tell who's been talking and who's not been talking. So hopefully that answers that question. And Pat, I don't know if you want to talk to Cam about his.
Yeah, Cam asked, speaking of gains by other bargaining units, comment on Pasco's gains and how they will or won't benefit us. Is that relevant to our market median analysis? Yeah, it should be applicable to us. They're a partner to the WestJet group. They're non-unionized, so it's not tough to get their terms and conditions going forward, but definitely can use them. You know, it's a lot easier when they're a unionized group to use them as a market median. You know, when that time comes, we definitely use all applicable that we can to use in terms of negotiations or talking about further compensation, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully that answers the question there, Cam. Perfect, thanks. Questions, just put your hand up, type it in if you'd like. Yes, I'm a little heated today. I appreciate, the questions, but I'll be honest, it's frustrating to me when we get, talked to by pilots and tell us we need to do this, but yet when people don't want to show up to events or engage in the communications with us, it gets a little frustrating. We want to do what's best for you guys, the pilots, and so when I push the agenda of the pub nights and the lanyard stuff, it's not because we're trying to push this propaganda on people, but we're trying to push what's right for our pilot groups and to work as a unified group. Jackie had a question in the chat group. Stand by, it's just bloating. Since there have been no formal conversations on merger, if the company finally decides to move forward with this, would a minimum timeline look? It's up to them. If they want to do it, we could have this done in a weekend. I'm pretty optimistic on that. Obviously, we'll have to get all parties involved and what we need to do, but it's pretty simple in our eyes. We've kind of done a lot of research as a group already. We've talked a lot of legal, and we feel that it's a fairly quick process. If they literally wanted to lock us into campus for 3 days to get this done and work all through the night, we're happy to do it. So, again, there's a lot of what ifs and what nots and how things would look, but the basic look of how a merger would look, it's fairly simple, and then the big details would be worked out as we proceeded through, living through it. So, if that helps answer your question. Max had another question. I noticed that several other ALPA Canada groups have not yet expressed support for December 1. If a pilot of those groups want to join, will they be allowed? I would encourage them, if they are unionized, that they go speak to the union. We'd love to have support from other carriers such as Jazz, Flair, Cargojet. I can't speak to why they're not joining. I can't. I've spoke to Claude at Jazz. He has his reasons why, but we have a meeting tomorrow with the ALPA Canada MEC chairs to discuss everything else tomorrow. So hopefully we can somewhat convince them to show, if not for their group, to unify as our group. So, but yeah, to answer your question, Max, if you have friends working at another carrier and they want to come, I definitely ask them to talk to their union there to get permission to see what they can and cannot do, as well as, yeah, and then we're happy to have them. So get us in touch with them, and if they're able, then we'll get them a sign and go from there.
Yeah, and Max, as a general for most or for people, is if you're on your own time, you're free to do, I wouldn't say what you want, because I know certain people like wearing a uniform, so that would certainly, I'd direct them to their union. But if you're on your own time, you can certainly show up to an event.
Yeah, the big ticket items, the uniform pieces, we can wear the uniform, but likely won't be able to wear our wings, our lanyards, or our company IDs. Even though we know we work for WestJet, it's just one of those, or Encore, I should say. We have to be mindful of that. And for those are coming from other properties, I would definitely encourage them to speak to someone at their property so they don't get themselves into some sort of trouble. I'll leave about 15 minutes left of the chat here. So if you have any other further questions, by all means, you guys know how to do it. So we're here to answer them. Thanks for all the good questions today. Always good questions with everyone on these calls. Will there be a pub night in Ottawa? Ottawa's off the ticket. We had one in Montreal. It didn't really wasn't quite successful. We had a few people show up. Next pub night will be in Winnipeg, August 11th. And then we'll sit down with Natasha and her team to figure out what worked and what didn't work and go from there. Jackie had another question. What are our approximate attrition numbers so far? Couldn't tell you. I know I've heard anywhere from, they're very shy in terms of the company providing the numbers, but we all know who's leaving. I heard in the last August and September, roughly 18 pilots have left other opportunities. So majority of Toronto based. So it should be concerning to the company, in my opinion. But I'll tell you this, one pilot leaving is one too many pilots. So we're short as it is. So when you lose 18 pilots, that should speak volumes. Is the company holding back on upgrades at YYZ? No, they're not. They still need captains and they're still upgrading. So waiting on the next bid to open. Like I said at the start of the chat here, I was supposed to get something last week. I haven't seen anything yet. So I'm hopeful that it'll be out here either today or some point this week. And if not, then we'll start poking those that have information to that, and we'll go from there. On the training notes, I will like to touch on one thing. There has been a considerable amount of people who are not successful through upgrade training. I don't know what the issues are. As an association, we're here to support pilots to go through the process of an upgrade, but ultimately it comes down on the individual pilots being prepared when they go into sim. If it's a contentious safety issue, it's very hard for an association like us to go fight for someone who's not ready. So I would encourage you who are getting ready for an upgrade to be prepared, as well as recurrent sim and all that. But it's the big issue items right now for those upgrading presently. I have numbers. I won't disclose the numbers because it's not right to disclose those numbers. But for those who are teach sim, know what I'm speaking of. Those who do rides know what I'm speaking of. So I would encourage you, for those guys who are upgrading shortly or in the future, just be ready. An upgrade is something serious. It doesn't mean that you're ready because your seniority number calls for it. Be ready for the upgrade. During ground school, they listed approximately 140 pilots being hired for 2022. Have we engaged on how we expect to flow 70 pilots this year and 100 plus next year? They're flowing 70 supposedly this year. I don't know what their hiring plan is. I've heard that they possibly are slowing down hiring for the latter half of the year. 100 plus next year. I think that was wishful thinking and ambitious by one of our managers. Again, I don't know how they anticipate to do that. Yeah, it's a question. If you'd like to ask that directly to the manager there, I'd encourage you to do that. Again, right now we're focusing on fixing our problems as pilots on property. And if they can't hire, then it obviously becomes a an issue. So I don't know how they anticipate. I think with the 70 pilots, we'll likely see 70 this year just because they don't have to pay out the repayment. Going forward, we'll see what happens, with the Toronto shrinking in size as what we've been told, and that was from the first conversation we had with the company. If it does just shrink, that means I would hope flow would increase for our pilots at Encore. Greg asked a question, can Alpa have a team building event such as a CFL game, air show, etc.? Yeah, we look at those called family awareness nights. Family awareness nights through Alpa are generally through contract years. So I know we're in a bit of a word of wars with our powers to see if we can get family awareness nights going through the year. We'd love to do another CFL night, another Jays game in Toronto, but it's a bit of a fight here and there. We're working towards issues. If we can get them done, we'll communicate. I know we've done a couple of lacrosse games in Calgary, a CFL game as well a couple years ago. And Toronto's done a couple baseball games, if I remember correctly, if not one. And then we're hopefully to see some more things. I know there's free tickets for those who are in the Lower Mainland for the Abbotsford Air Show on the weekend of the 5th. Alpa Canada sent a communication out. There's 200 tickets per day, so if you want to go in Abbey, they're free. email Rob Lynch, and he'll get the tickets emailed out to you. They're digital form, so I encourage you to get those if you're looking forward to it. I know Alpa Canada is also looking at the London Air Show for those of you in Ontario. They're looking at stuff like that as well. I'm not sure what the plan is for London at the moment. Still working on details right now. And for the one in Calgary that just passed, it was too last minute for us to even consider looking at it. I know Natasha and I spoke about it, but it was just too last minute to get anything organized. So hopefully next year we'll have a better plan of action when it comes to the air show stuff. And then with the games and all the above, we're again, it's a bit of a nightmare trying to work with someone south of the border, but we'll keep you posted. Any other questions? Max and Jackie, you two are the question people today. So anyone from you guys? And Cam as well. Well, if there's nothing else, we're about 7 minutes shy of an hour here. So if there isn't anything else, we'll cut it. Oh, there we go. Oh, thanks, Max. Thank you. And yes, thank you to all our volunteers that do volunteer. You guys are, you know, a valuable asset to us at the association. If you do want to volunteer, reach out. We'll find something for you where we can fit you. Obviously, not everyone can be a safety rep or a negotiator because those are, I'd say those two roles are filled at the moment. But we do need people that can assist with grievance as well as with training committee chair. We're looking for one of those. We're also looking for people that can assist with the SPFC going forward. There's tons of roles, so let us know what you want, and we'll try to slot you in where we can. And then Cam had one final note. Oh, should we show up? Tamlin's on September 4th with Tridents. Okay, I don't know. We're gonna probably show up in uniform, and we'll do our thing, and I'll get a haircut that day as well. So I don't know what else, but I'll leave it at that. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have you guys a wonderful day. Enjoy the weather, and we'll talk soon. Take care.